In this video, you'll experience the full story, the characters, and the themes of Charlotte Brontë as Jane Eyre, told in a way that feels like reading the novel itself. Stay with me, because by the end, you will understand why Jane Eyre is not only a love story but also a tale of independence, morality, and social struggle. Background and context. Charlotte Brontë published Jane Eyre in 1847 under the pen name Currer Bell. It is one of the greatest works of Victorian literature combining elements of romance, Gothic mystery, and social criticism. The novel was revolutionary because it gave voice to a poor, plain woman demanding equality, independence, and respect in a world dominated by class and gender rules. Main characters. Jane Eyre. Orphan, poor, plain, but strong-willed, moral, and independent. Represents the struggle of women for dignity and equality. Edward Rochester. Complex, passionate, flawed. His love for Jane is sincere, but his past sin, hiding his wife, creates tragedy. Bertha Mason. Rochester's wife, symbol of madness, colonial anxieties, and the dark side of passion. Also, a critique of how women with mental illness were treated. Helen Burns. Jane's childhood friend at Lowood, symbol of Christian forgiveness and inner strength. St. John Rivers, Jane's cousin, cold and duty-driven, represents religion without love. Mrs. Reed and cousins represent cruelty, class prejudice, and the oppression Jane faced in childhood. Storytelling summary. Extended, novel-like. The story begins with a lonely little girl. Jane Eyre, an orphan living at Gateshead Hall with her cruel Aunt Reed and bullying cousins. Jane is mistreated, constantly reminded she is poor and unwanted. After a fight with her cousin John, she is locked in the Red Room, a terrifying chamber where her uncle had died. Traumatized, Jane faints. Her aunt, eager to be rid of her, sends Jane to Lowood School, a charity institution for poor girls. Life at Lowood is harsh. The headmaster, Mr. Brocklehurst, is a hypocrite who preaches Christianity but starves and humiliates the girls. Yet at Lowood, Jane finds friendship in Helen Burns, a kind, spiritual girl who teaches Jane endurance and forgiveness. Sadly, Helen dies of illness during a typhus outbreak, leaving Jane devastated but strengthened by her lessons. Jane grows into a bright, self-reliant young woman, eventually becoming a teacher at Lowood, but she longs for more, a fuller life, adventure, and independence. She advertises for a governess position and is hired at Thornfield Hall, a grand but mysterious estate. At Thornfield, Jane meets Edward Rochester, her employer and the master of the house. He is brusque, moody, but fascinating. Jane tutors a French girl, Adele, Rochester's ward. Slowly, despite their differences in age, wealth, and status, Jane and Rochester grow close. Rochester admires Jane's intelligence and honesty. Jane feels drawn to his passionate spirit. Yet strange events haunt Thornfield. At night, Jane hears eerie laughter in the attic. A visitor is attacked in his bed. A fire nearly kills Rochester in his sleep. Jane cannot understand the mystery, though Rochester avoids explanation. Finally, Rochester confesses his love and proposes to Jane. Against all odds, poor governess and wealthy master, they plan to marry. Jane is overjoyed. But on their wedding day, a shocking truth is revealed. Rochester is already married. His wife, Bertha Mason, is alive but insane, locked away in the attic of Thornfield. She is the source of the laughter, the fire, the terror. Jane's world collapses. Though Rochester begs her to stay as his companion, Jane refuses. She loves him deeply but will not sacrifice her moral integrity. With a broken heart, she leaves Thornfield in the middle of the night, penniless and alone. Jane wanders across the moors, nearly dying of starvation, until she is rescued by the Rivers family, St. John, Diana, and Mary. They turn out to be her long-lost cousins. Jane inherits a fortune from her uncle, gaining independence at last. St. John, a stern clergyman, proposes marriage to Jane, not out of love, but duty, urging her to join him as a missionary wife. Though tempted by the idea of purpose, Jane realizes she cannot marry without love. She refuses. One night, Jane feels an almost supernatural pull, a voice calling her name across the distance. It is Rochester. She rushes back to Thornfield, only to find the mansion burned down. Bertha had set fire to the house and leapt to her death. Rochester saved his servants but was injured, blind and maimed, living in seclusion at Ferndean. Jane finds him again, not as master and servant, but equals. She marries him out of love, freely, with her own fortune and without dependence. Their marriage is based on respect, equality, and true companionship. Thus, Jane's journey, from abused orphan to independent woman, ends in fulfillment, not in submission, but in self-respect and love. Recap, outro. So, remember, Jane Eyre is not just a love story. It is a tale of survival, independence, morality, and a woman's demand for respect. Jane's journey teaches us that true love can only exist between equals, and that integrity is worth more than passion alone. Before your exam, keep these themes in mind: love versus independence, class and gender, and the struggle between passion and morality. And never forget Jane's message: women feel just as men feel, and deserve the same respect. Thank you for watching Quicklit Explained.